Hey Joe, I wanted to ask you about, I hear you're in federal court bringing some charges against city council for excluding you from their council meetings. Can you tell me what's going on?
Yes. What happened on December 21st, we took a case into federal court and we're doing it pro se, so the lawyers are not involved in this. And we're asking the federal court to, first I asked them for three things. I asked them to let me do it pro se. I asked them to waive all the fees, which is about $1,000, somewhere between $300 and $1,000. When we got to court, I also asked them to let my wife sit up on the lawyer's table, which is very unusual, and the judge said okay. Now here's the interesting thing about this case. This case is being heard by Judge Michael Simon, who is the federal judge in charge of the agreement between the federal government, DOJ, and the city. I testified at that hearing, and he remembered me and commented at the beginning of the hearing. He also said this to me. He said, you know, Mr. Walsh, you can sue. Which everybody looked at each other and said, wow, that was an unusual thing for him to say. He cross-examined two lawyers from the city attorney's office and asked them this question. He said, you gave me a lot of cases to read, but not one says that the mayor has the authority to violate the First Amendment, which says Mr. Walsh has a right to petition his representatives. So what you're asking me to do, and he's talking to the city attorneys, you're asking me to be the first federal judge to say Mr. Walsh can be kept out of a city council meeting because he did something in the past at another meeting. He said, I have heartburn with that one. Now I'm sitting there saying, when it comes to my turn to argue the case, because this was oral argument, what am I going to say? He's already said it. So it was my turn, and I just said, I agree with you, Your Honor. That's the question. Can the mayor sit in his office and say, I don't like Joe Walsh. I'm going to give him a 60-day exclusion. He's not going to be allowed in the building, which also includes the auditor's office.
And that's the main point of what you're complaining
That's the
about,
purity
right?
of it. That's why we did it pro se for two reasons.
And what does pro se mean?
Pro se means that you do it on your own,
Okay.
that you don't use lawyers.
Uh-huh.
Now, everybody says, and everybody knows about this, that this is not a good idea, except in this case, if I screwed it up, a good lawyer could come back and say, well, he should have done that and he should have done that, and take it back into court and do it again. We think we're going to win. We really do. I asked everybody that came out, and I said, what do you think? And they said, we're going to win this. City attorneys were furious. All right? And there's another interesting thing that happened. Mr. Davis, who's a video guy, is a citizen videotape guy. He had a case that he's been permanently banned from City Hall. So we went to his hearing, and they postponed it until the end of the month. And my suspicion is they're waiting for this decision. And they think they're going to lose. That's why they didn't have the hearing for him. Because how my end statement to the judge was, all I'm asking you to decide is, do we live in a democracy or a republic or a dictatorship? Which one? You decide that. And I'll take the first two.
Joe, you got kicked out of City Hall again?
Yes.
Now, has that happened a couple times?
Yes.
Two or three times? What do you think?
Well, I was kicked out for 30 days and then another 30 days. And then the 60 days was the last one. That's the one I dragged into.
And it's because of what you say while you're in the room. They're
Well,
kicking
the
you out.
last one was a little confusing because it's consent agenda. They wanted to move $100,000 from transportation over to police overtime. And they put it on consent agenda, which means there's no discussion. No nothing. It just goes underneath
Approve
the
it.
table.
Yep.
It's in a block form. It's like 6 items, maybe 7 items, and they're one vote. And they slip it underneath the table so nobody talks about it. So Lightning and I have made a habit of looking at them very closely and pulling them. Under our charter, we can pull them.
Are you still banned?
Yes. No.
Oh, good.
No.
Okay, good.
So, we pulled an item about the $100,000. They're supposed to handle the item right after consent agenda, which is about 15 minutes into the meeting. What Charlie Hayles does is he puts it all the way back into regular business at the end, which is like 2 hours. So a normal citizen is sitting there, he can't spend all that time in City Hall, so they leave. Unfortunately for him, I'm retired so I can hang around. But I sent them a letter under ADA, which is the American Disabilities Act, and said because of some of the diseases that I have to go to the restroom periodically. So I was at the restroom. My oxygen was there, and he pulled it up out of order, and they voted on it without any discussion.
While you were in the restroom?
While I was in the restroom. So I come back, and I find out about it, and I blow my top. All right? So I got thrown out again. So they did
With the
60 days.
caveat that they want you banned for so many days. They threw you out of the meeting and said you can't come back for...
Can't come back for 24 hours.
Oh,
and then
24.
a week later, they give you the letter that says you've been excluded for 60 days.
And that's what you're taking to the federal court now.
That's what we're appealing.
Good.
We're saying they can't do that. He doesn't have the, he's got the authority. And being a union official, an ex-union official, I used to throw people out of meetings. Drunks would come in at the union meeting, we'd get the sergeant on, take them out. We're not arguing that. We're not arguing them throwing us out. We're not even arguing trespass or getting arrested. We're saying when he goes back to his office and sits there and says, I don't like Joe Walsh, I'm going to give him 60 days. Or in Keats Davis's issue, he went from 30 to banned. He's banned for life. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Does that mean his life, 80 years? Or does it mean the life of the mayor?
Do you have a court date coming up? Or any
No, we're
specific
just
date?
waiting for the decision.
Okay.
He said he would give it to us within 30 days.
So stay tuned to Individuals for Justice, and you'll post up the date that you got a court date?
If he comes down, we're asking for a permanent injunction against him. So if he comes down with a permanent injunction against them, all the exclusions are gone. They have to redo them all. And I'm not sure if that's going to include the other bureaus, like the parks. You have prostitution in there, they ban them. TriMet, screw up with your ticket, they get banned. Does that carry into all of them? Depends on the wording. And as a side thing, just for you.
Turn it off. We're done?
Yeah, you can turn it
Okay,
off.
and thank you, Joe, for speaking
Well, you
with
can
me
leave
today.
this on.
Okay,
and
let's
think about
see it. Yeah.
Because this is an interesting thing. When they appealed Michael Simon's decision that they had to come to them every year, they went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I testified against that. And I said to them, God help you if you ever get a case before Michael Simon again. And guess who the first case is? Mine.
Since you're finished speaking, I'd like to tell Joe that Charlie
Should I
Hayles.
capture this too, Michael? Do you
I
mind?
don't mind.
Okay.
I'd be delighted,
Yeah. Michael Meo.
I want to confirm that Charlie Hayles makes a habit of having people taken out of his own office who he doesn't like there. I went to the public part of the waiting room of Mayor Hayles' office and sat down waiting for Charlie Hayles to do anything to make one substantive action in favor of police accountability. I sat there for a few days, and Hayles called the police. The police came twice and said, "We're not going to arrest him." On a third occasion, finally, I can testify that Hayles was on the radio to the arresting officer demanding that I be arrested. I was arrested not once, but 3 times. I was put in jail. I was put on suicide watch, which means that you're put in a cold room with a single blanket. Basic idea is to make you so uncomfortable that you'll plead for mercy. I was on suicide watch for 3 days. At the end of this torture, at the end of these 3 arrests, all charges were dismissed. That is what Mayor Hayles personally intends for anybody who actually protests in this city. He intends to use his power to crush any civil action that protests his abuse of power.
He's really going after the activists.
Okay, well, that's all bad news.